today? Okay, as I see none, I would like to propose that we adopt the agenda as proposed. Can I get a motion that the Board of Directors adopt the agenda as presented? Okay, I'll take that from Director Corey, seconded by Vice Chair Rubinoff. We'll now go into voting. Any opposition? Any abstentions? All those in favor? Okay. How many is that? Passes one. The motion passes 0 to 8. Is that correct? Oh, 0 to 9. Okay, perfect. We will now start our Special Constable Services presentation. Go ahead. Director Lee.
Thanks, Mohammed. For anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Tammy Lee. I'm the Director of Laurier Special Constable Service. And with me on the call is our manager, Scott Lawson, Operations Multi-Campus. Scott can introduce himself as well. So again, thank you for having us. Our presentation is going to be just kind of a smaller one. We're just going to take a look at the SAPOC, and Scott will be able to share his screen. And then we're really just here to listen and to get feedback from your group. Okay. So Scott.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having Tammy and I. We appreciate it. I think it's important to participate and listen and learn from your team, and this opportunity is a one that we appreciate. So we'll just be brief in terms of our. Hopefully, I can share the screen and be brief in our comments, and then just sort of do some Q&A, as Tammy said, after. So wonder if the host can give me sharing abilities.
Ian, would you be able, Director Muller, would you be able to make that happen? Sorry about that.
Should be good now.
Know if that's working or not.
Ian, were you able to
Yeah, sharing is enabled, yes.
Okay.
We don't see anything yet, though. So.
Bear with me. I'll see if I can't.
If you're not able to, Scott, maybe we could send Mohammed the presentation, and maybe he could share it if it's not going to work.
Actually, if you'd be able to send it to Ian, as he's the one who controls the meeting from the Zoom perspective. Sorry about the delay.
That's okay. Could you send me his email or contact information? Yeah. And Scott's, maybe Scott send it too?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I sent you both a private message on Teams. Ian, did you receive the presentation yet?
Not yet.
Sorry, Mohammed, did you say that you sent a message on Teams?
No, not on Teams. I meant on the Zoom chat. I sent a
Oh.
private message.
Okay, sorry.
Ian, let me know if you receive that.
Yeah, it came in now. It's just doing its.
Okay.
Perfect.
There we go. All right. Tammy, I'll just kind of walk through it, and if you want to chime in as needed, does that work?
Yeah, that's good for me.
Okay. Okay, next slide, please. So this will be brief. There's only about 4 or 5 slides, and I think the key piece of this is to hear some feedback from your team. We understand there's some consternation, rightfully. We know there's lots of things happening with our neighbors up the street, including some discussions today. We know there's been also some meetings that have been happening beyond our sort of region, and we think that's wonderful that all those things are happening, and we're certainly willing to be a part of those discussions as we move along, and we'll allude to some of what's happening and take the questions as we said. So I think the key for this slide for those on the call here is just to understand from our perspective that, and I always say we're not like them, but we aren't the regional police, we're not Brantford Police, we're the Special Constable Service, and we certainly undoubtedly understand our unique culture in our campus and in our community. And I think that's an important sort of takeaway from really the top end in terms of how different we are in terms of our understanding of the community. We certainly do respect and reflect the values and the goals and the mission of our university as a whole. Certainly when it comes to EDI and I, we certainly are in full support of some of what we've seen from the review that has taken place that perhaps some of you have been involved in with the review of how the Special Constable Service interacts with the racialized community. We will be implementing some of those recommendations going forward, or most all of them, as we work with leadership for that. And I think the important takeaway as we move along here is just the working partnerships that we have within the university. There's a few named on the slide here. And certainly Student Union is one of those key partners that we collaborate with weekly, daily almost, when it comes to support, listening, planning for events in support of the Student Union. And we very much value that relationship as we certainly embark on these sort of more challenging times. So next slide. One of the pieces that I'm sure Student Union has heard over certainly since the unfortunate incident at University of Waterloo is the Safe Hawk app. That is very much an important piece for your team and us to get across in terms of our community. It is an easy app to download, as I think hopefully most of you will know and have had occasion to use the app, certainly not necessarily to call SCS, but to participate and understand some of the features that the app provides. It's an area that we want to keep encouraging people to to download. And as you see some of the messaging from the president and other members of the leadership team, that is something that we want to stress going forward. You'll notice on the slide here a few of the different opportunities and areas that the app supports. Working alone, setting my location, certainly. Obviously, in COVID days, we had virtual walk home and things like that we partnered with. But it is an important piece to consider sharing on behalf of certainly SCS, but the broader institution to download that app. Next slide. So one of the pieces of the app that we find sometimes is overlooked is setting the campus alert settings. You can see on the left-hand side there, you select the particular campus that you'll receive the alert settings for. That's an important toggle to make sure all members, if they don't check one of those boxes or all of them, as you see there, then they won't get any of the alert notifications. Excuse me. So please encourage your team and our students to make sure that they download the app for starters. And I know during COVID, that was a thing that we all had to do. Perhaps that isn't necessarily with a new cohort coming in, something that they would be understanding of, but this is a very important piece for all of our safety on campus. So next slide. So emergency on campus, for those of you who have seen the app and have maneuvered around and through the app, One Touch will contact us, the red bar that calls directly into our communication center. We have a 24/7, 365 communication center that responds to all phone calls around the clock and will dispatch appropriate resources based on the need and requirement of those phone calls. So with One Touch, you can do that. And I know we're all going to a Teams phone system going forward as a university. That will not affect how you would reach us in an emergency. You will receive alerts and critical information on the SafeHawk app. You'll get campus resources from the app. And as I noted just a moment ago, and Tammy will probably speak to this a little bit more, but there is a move afoot to continue enhancing what we currently have and augmenting to a more robust system over the course of the next few months. Next slide. Work Alone app is a really important piece that we encourage those students who are working alone, studying, working alone within our campus setting, that they use the Work Alone app. It is a really cool feature that allows, provided the input from the particular student is accurate and they're willing to share their information, they would receive check-ins. And if they don't call back on a check-in, after a couple of check-ins are missed, then we will come to the location that they've said they would be studying to check on them personally. We use this a lot with our after-hours faculty and our after-hours staff in terms of custodial and other grounds and other folks that are working sort of during dark evening overnight hours. And it's certainly another feature that we have been championing for years, and we would encourage our students to consider that option immediately and as we go certainly into the fall with the next cohort. Next slide. I think we're getting close to the end. So this just speaks to some of the information that's available. You can see on the left-hand side some of the options that are available. These tabs will take you directly to the particular information. It's not information that we've sort of compiled. It's information that has been directly provided through a link to wellness and our gender violence, sexual assault area. All of those particular areas, by clicking on these links, it'll draw you directly to those resources for any particular information that's required. Another feature that the SafeHawk app provides is an opportunity to interact with our team in terms of complaints or appreciation. If that's the case, we do respond to all complaints. The sender of a complaint would receive an automatic acknowledgement that their complaint has been submitted. And it's usually me that would reach back out and make the inquiries the following day. So another option that's available should it be required. Next slide. Yeah, so that is, I mean, I'll let Tammy sort of finish off and then we'll probably take questions depending on what your agenda looks like. But that's a very specific SafeHawk focus that we thought was super important for your leadership team to take back and discuss and consider championing the support of the SafeHawk app going forward. So I'll turn it over to Tammy.
Thanks, Scott. So like Scott said, the university is really looking at a broader safety strategy for campus safety at all campuses. They're committed to that. They've struck a working group to look at the safety and risks on campus. And like an article said today, that doesn't necessarily mean more SCS officers or more police on campus. So we all have a part in what safety looks like, and it's a safe environment is different for everybody. So we recognize that, and really we just want to hear from you in your group, what your questions are, what your thoughts are, how we can support you. We were very excited that we got the invitation to come and talk to the group. We haven't for several years now. Probably the pandemic was one of the reasons, but we really are looking forward to building a partnership with this group. So if there's any questions, Scott and I would be happy to try to answer them the best that we can. And if we don't have the answers, we will certainly take it back to our senior leadership as well. Scott and I are going to be involved in the committee that was struck to look at campus safety and the risks on campus with senior leaders. So the first meeting is actually tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. I'd like to open it up for the board for directors to ask questions. Director Hamilton, go ahead.
Hi there, great presentation. Thank you so much. I just had a question about the emergency systems in place other than the SafeHawk app. Is it like through email? I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. Let's say if a student doesn't have the app.
Yeah. So sorry if I get this correct. If you don't have the app, what are other methods? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I would say we go back to the old school way. Honestly, if one doesn't know the SCS number, the emergency number 3333, then they can just call 911 and their call will end up getting routed back to SCS, to our communications. And on-campus incidences are managed by our team. So those calls would probably end up back with our team. So that's, I would say, sort of the old school way. As Tammy said, and has been announced by senior leadership, there is a new emergency notification system being procured, I think is what the note said. That is something that Tammy and I have been heavily involved in, and we don't have a lot of details to share sort of publicly at this point, but rest assured, I can attest to the institution taking all steps to ensure that by the fall, our collective safety is top priority. So I feel good about that. And in support of our team, I think we do a wonderful job. Yes, we understand not everybody wants to see us, and the securitizing of a campus is not necessarily on the front radar of some of our community, but we believe, an important piece of the overall campus safety, that really has an understanding of supporting our students, not enforcing our students. So.
Good, thank you so much.
Perfect. Does that, do you have any further questions, Director Hamilton?
No, that was great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. We'll move on to the Brantford boardroom.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to kind of follow up on a couple things that both Director Hamilton and you said. Kind of a similar line of thought to his question was when I previously, when I've used the SafeHawk app, I've noticed that a lot of it is dependent on either data or Wi-Fi dependencies. Now, I haven't really used the app in about a year, but has that changed, and kind of how is the app accessible to students who don't have Wi-Fi or don't have data?
Yeah, great question. And yes to both. It is data dependent, and it is certainly augmented by having Wi-Fi. There's no doubt about that. Students who aren't fortunate enough to have access would have to use, I would say, more conventional means, which is, as I said, either the 911 or you know, I'm going to say the standard telephone to reach our service. So that is a gap that I don't at this point see a solution to, although when the emergency notification system, the more robust system that's being looked at, may help address some of that gap that you speak about.
Okay, thank you. And I just kind of, to a second question, it's a bit unrelated, but you did speak on it a bit. Kind of where I'm at is, I kind of want to understand from the perspective of SES and kind of the broader community, what role does the Students' Union play in the security and safety apparatus at Laurier? Kind of what exactly are our responsibilities, and is there anything we can provide further support on?
Yeah, I would say there's lots of things we can partner with. Tammy, I'll let you talk at a higher level and can certainly chime in. But yeah, that's a excellent question that we'd love to find new and better ways and learn what things we can take away from your team that may help.
Yeah, and from my standpoint, the Student Union does a really great job in communicating with their students when we have the unsanctioned events and the key priorities for the university around St. Patrick's Day and homecoming. You know, the messaging that we used to do was by emergency services, basically doing door knocks, going from door to door. We found that wasn't probably very helpful. So we went to student-led groups, and the Student Union was a huge part of that. So really, I think from the communications, external relations sent an email out, I think early last week, talking about safety and their priorities and their commitment to safety on campus, really to support the university's messaging on that. And one piece is the SafeHawk app right now. For us, it's a key component to you know, connecting with us, knowing what's going on. We also use the app for not just on campus, but say if there's something close to campus in either Waterloo, Brantford, or Kitchener, or actually even Milton, we use the feeds from Waterloo Regional or Brantford Police Service to be able to communicate with our students on that as well. The police services senior leadership do have our SafeHawk app on their devices as well, so that they know what's going on with the community. So really, as far as supporting, we're open to new ideas, but really keep doing what you've been doing and messaging the students and supporting the initiatives of the university.
Yeah, and I'll just finalize by saying, I think you know, one of the bigger messages besides what Tammy spoke about, or in support of that, is you know, if you need our help, we're a phone call away. And I think ensuring that our community and our new cohort and those that have been here for going into their upper years feel a level of trust and comfort with us. I think that's an important piece that we're always trying to work on and to instill in our community, that you know, we are respectful, we are professional, we are in support of the educational journey. We're not, you know, the tool of last resort is a tool of enforcement in the way, in our view. It's not something that is viewed differently perhaps than the local police service. And I think working together with you as a board and with our broader community of students, I think instilling and trying to continue to build that trust is an important piece, including, meetings like tonight. Like, I think this is, for me, opportunity to put a name to a face, if you will, know that you're talking to the leadership of our team, 46 strong. We firmly believe we have a really important part to play, as much and even more so that we've seen in the last few weeks. And I think continuing from a board's perspective to support that collaboration and that building of trust, I think is an important, very, very important piece.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We'll now move on to Director Russo. Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me? All right. Okay, perfect. So I noticed you guys mentioned the work alone part of the SafeHawk app, and I think that's a really great tool to have. I never knew that we had that. So I'm just wondering if you guys have like a way to put it out there of like all the tools you have on the SafeHawk app for the students. I know like if you could like send out an email to everyone, just kind of going over how the SafeHawk app works and stuff like that. Just wondering like what you guys are doing to like demonstrate the resources that are available through that app. And also I know that like a lot of people don't check their email. So is there any other ways like through social media that you guys are spreading that information?
Yeah, Scott, I can jump in right away,
Yeah.
I guess, and
Yep.
then you can take it from there. But yeah, we're doing actually a fair bit to broadcast the SafeHawk app, and we have since we got it. We're involved in the Get Involved fairs. We had draws where you could win an iPad to encourage people to download it. We're on social media, so we're constantly on social media. If you're connected to us on Instagram, Facebook, I don't have those myself, so we only have Scott and I are old school and only have the SCS one, but please connect with us on those apps. Our social media officer, I think, does a really good job. He's a younger officer that is very well connected on social media. He's done a video of basically SCS, who we are, what we do, and how we can support. And part of that is the SafeHawk app as well. There has been key messages that have gone out through senior leadership. Again, it's probably email form. So as you mentioned, that not a lot of people maybe read their emails. If there's another way that we could be reaching the group, please let us know. I think that's going to be part of the discussion on the working group too. How can we get the messages out? You're welcome to share our presentation with anybody that you feel would like to see it. We are doing a lot of presentations and have actually throughout the years. When an incident happens, we seem to be doing more presentations. We've just finished with the faculty. We have the Faculty of Music, Faculty of Arts. So yeah, again, we're open to what's the best way to connect with the students. If it's not through email, what does that look like? We're happy to do in-person presentations, which we have done. We're involved in O-Week presentations. So the first year students, a lot of them won't even know what a special constable is, to be honest. And most staff and faculty might not either, unless they've been here for a while. So we have a presentation as well on who we are and what we do and how we can support. So we're happy to do those presentations, but open to listening to what your group thinks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are there any other further questions from directors? Okay, as I see none, I'll ask myself a couple questions. I'd just like to start off by saying thank you for taking the time to prepare for our board meeting today. It's greatly appreciated that you've both come out. I do have myself a couple questions that I figured are quite timely considering the situation that's been going on. We'd like to get a good understanding of the current threat level for students as a population at the moment. What are the risks? What are the threats? What are the things that we should be looking out for? And that's kind of, yeah, I'll start off with that first question and we can move on to the second.
I'll start. And honestly, and I said this to Tammy when we chatted briefly today, the president of UW said recently in his public comments post tragedy they had there that our community, our post-secondary, our university community is a microcosm of the broader community. And I totally, and I think I know Tammy agrees that is in fact a true statement that was made. And I think, we can't deny the fact that the broader community beyond our campus boundaries is having some challenges. And I think those challenges from time to time definitely encroach onto our campuses. And, that is a fact. And some of the main challenges that are being seen beyond the campus setting for us is mental health, the unhomed. There's definitely some increases in more violent crimes. And for those of you who are paying attention a bit today, there was a press conference at 2:00 this afternoon for an incident that happened only blocks away from our main Waterloo campus. But for Tammy and I to come on the call tonight and tell you that we have an increased threat level and we all better, take cover is not, we're not there, and we hope we're never there. I think my response more specifically would be, this notion of working together, this, teaching our people, if you want to put it that way, to look out for themselves and one another. I mean, nobody would have predicted what took place 3 weeks ago at UW. And so we have to be, a little more vigilant at times and report things when they see things. And that hopefully is to us or to others who our student population feels comfortable in telling. And I think it goes without saying that there are definitely increases. You've read our annual reports. You are seeing some trends there that Tammy and I definitely understand. We look at, we watch, we respond to. But we're not here to alarm anyone. We're certainly willing and have said this number of times tonight to partner and find some new ways to work together so that your messaging and our messaging are in lockstep. And I think that as a broader sets of eyes and broader community, we can then have a more positive impact on the overall safety of our campus. I know it's a bit political, but to just say to you, we have an increased threat level is not a fair, sort of short statement. It's just not. But we have to be vigilant. We have to be mindful of our surroundings, and that when we step on the sidewalk, we're on King Street, we're on University, we're on Albert, we're in the community, that there's some other people who are, not necessarily on the up and up in the community. So we just have to be mindful of that and work together to support one another in that area.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows we have the ability to monitor a lot of the spaces on our campus through card access, through CCTV, all of those sort of more specific measures that are put in place to support the safety of all of us as we move around the campus. And I think we just have to continue understanding, as we just got asked about Work Alone, sort of surfing through that app, if it's downloaded, would be a wonderful thing for your board to communicate one to download, one to select the appropriate campuses, and then just start surfing and see what's out there, and send us some feedback online and get to, you know, sort of maneuver a bit. And I think that would help.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. My second question will look at like, what are the current safety concerns on like each campus, like specifically, and then kind of like the university as a whole, like the common issues, but then like the campus specific issues that you know, impact the student perception of safety.
Well, I can tell you, Tammy and I deal with this moment by moment, is social media. We are so impacted by social media in lots of positive ways, but in very much some negative ways, that it's hard for Tammy and I to defend things that are being said that start to, as you all know, grow rapidly into areas that you know, I would say it ought not to grow into, and us to try and react to that really does take us off our game in the areas that we really need to focus. And I think that is a significant impact that we've seen in the service that we provide. I think that's one very important piece. And I'll give you a quick example. Tammy talked about major events. You see what happened in the fall, or in the spring for St. Patty's Day this year. Suddenly on social media, out goes this ginger walk over on Marshall. Next thing you know, we got all these people, you know, walking down Marshall. Like, those are immediate things that happen that, I know you smile, but it's absolutely reactionary for our community, our university community, but also for what we do as a service. But there's a lot of things that get said and get insinuated, I'll say, that aren't necessarily accurate. So that's one big challenge. The other thing that really, in general terms, that affects both our campuses, definitely within our student population, is mental health. That is a challenge for our community. There's no doubt about it. It's a challenge for our student population, our wellness, SCS. That is an area that is complex for us, and it certainly is impactful. And I can't speak for what happened at UW, but that might have been, there may have, despite the hatred and all that we denounce as a service at Laurier, that is something that could very well be part of the situation that happened. So that is a broad statement in terms of both campuses. One could see those that are unhomed and some of our, you know, marginalized community that are downtrodden, that are struggling. That is an area that we're always mindful of, and that I believe our student population should be as well. One of my little pet peeves, and I'll finish at this, is if you're going to go to the AC, you're going to go to the Y, you're going to go to a place where the cafeteria, and you're going to put your belongings into an area and walk away, please lock them. Please lock them. Don't pretend the lock's on. Don't, oh, I was only gone for 10 minutes. That is a daily call for us. I know that's not a crime against a person. It's more of a property scenario, but it's terrible. And people are losing things left, right, and center that are very valuable these days. And I can't tell you how many times walking away for 10 minutes and coming back and your book bag's gone, your laptop, your earbuds, your phone, like, so one of my little pet peeves, but I know that's maybe not what you wanted to hear specifically, but those are things that challenge us every day and take time for us to certainly try and support in finding out who's done it. So
Absolutely. If I could add like a little bit of commentary, just based on my own personal experience. I've been on the Brantford campus now heading into 5 years. I've seen a difference in the way that SCS has approached the downtown Brantford campus. And I would argue that it's actually the approach has improved. I'd say that the new partnership with the Brantford Special Constable Service, especially in downtown and responding to incidents together, is a fantastic idea. It gives the special constables, the Laurier special constables, a greater understanding of what's going on that around the campus that directly affect the campus, since we're so integrated in to the downtown. And I would definitely say like the much more proactive approach in terms of security has improved at least the perceived sense of a safety for students. This is just more informal. So I definitely appreciate that. On the cooperation side, I definitely think that it would be a great idea to strike maybe a more private conversation between our head of operations, which would be the student union president, and then your leadership team, or you know, whatever designate you'd like to designate Director Lee, to kind of work on the two main issues that we've kind of considered, that we've seen, which is, you know, utilizing the Safe Hawk app, but then also being able to better coordinate, you know, the better coordinate improving actual and perceived sense of safety on campus, because we both know actual safety versus perceived sense of safety are two different issues. Although they are connected, they are two separate issues. So I definitely think that it could be a wise idea to create that kind of like interconnect, and potentially maybe when the time comes, maybe create like a more formal framework and structure that would, you know, potentially require like a memorandum of understanding. But, you know, that's a far ways away if both parties decide to kind of handle that. I'd like to wrap up this conversation with allowing Director Hamilton final go at the question.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I'll make it quick, but I just had a question in terms of just like security overall. I was wondering if your team has considered maybe like pushing, campaigning, or doing some kind of partnership in terms of like spreading awareness about public safety measures you can take. Because I was at like a Dawn this past year, and so like I went through the training and I was on residence. And the one thing that I noticed a lot was kind of like the posters we put up and the places they would be placed, just to remind people, hey, like lock your things, watch the person that's coming in behind you, you know, use your one card, don't prop open doors, all those kinds of little things that can make a really big difference down the road. So I was wondering if there's, I don't know, like what are your team's thoughts on that, if there's anything?
Yeah, I'll jump in, Terry, and let you go right after. So we're actually got a pretty robust plan with certainly with our residents staff coming up this later in August as we start doing the Dawn and our LAC training, or at least the residents life starts doing that. So we've been invited to a number of different sessions and opportunities that we feel will really help along what you just said in terms of sort of very basic, what you and I would call basic safety tips that would really help our new cohort coming in understand, and certainly that spinoff would I think benefit those upper year students to hear that and understand that. I think, as Tammy said about our ability to be invited to various information sessions like this and some of the other opportunities that are available, we would certainly welcome that. I think I'm hearing a bit about social media in terms of an area that we should focus as well. So, but I know there's going to be a number of opportunities this late this summer that will, I think, benefit all of us. Tammy, I don't know if you have anything else.
Yeah, I was just going to add that we do have campaigns for the Lock It and Lose It, Scott. The bike safety campaign as well that we do. If there's something that we're missing or something that you're needing, please let us know, because we're happy to do those presentations and be more involved. There was, like, we've done rounds at the library where we see during exam period where, like Scott said, people are leaving their laptops. We've gone around and left cards that this, your item could have been stolen. We do a lot of proactive initiatives like that, but we are, anything that we can do that we're missing, happy to hear about it and put it into action for you.
Perfect.
Great, thank you.
I'd just like to thank you, Mr. Lawson and Director Lee, for attending our board meeting today. I know it is a little late on a Monday. We sincerely appreciate the presentation and the question and answer period that we've had. Going forward, I'm sure we'll stay in contact with you, and then to kind of see how we can grow our partnership between our two organizations to the benefit of our students. So thank you so much for attending our board meeting, and we wish you a wonderful evening. So
Thanks very much for having us as well. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we sincerely do. This is hopefully a start of more chances to interact and support one another. I think it's awesome that you thought of us, and I know it's maybe based on a very terrible time, but know that we're here to support you, and if we can work together on any projects, we're a phone call away.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
All right, perfect. So we will now move on to the comments from the chair of the board and CGO. I'd like to start off by thanking everyone for attending our meeting today and for participating in our Q&A session. That is greatly appreciated, and it makes us look good as engaged directors of the board. So I really appreciate your guys' time. I have a couple comments to share to the board. I'd first like to start off by congratulating the executive director and Chief Operating Officer, Director Champagne, on his 22 years of service with the Student Union. So I know he may not be here today, but I'd like to send my sincerest congratulations on behalf of the board. I'd then like to congratulate Director Massey, which is the Director of Strategic Initiatives, on his newborn. I know he is not here, but if Ian, you could make sure that send him a note of congratulations on behalf of the board, that would be greatly appreciated. The first comment that I'd like to make to the board would be to propose to move the August meeting to an earlier time. This is due to the fact that I have started a job that requires very early wake-ups. So on average, I'm waking up, for example, tomorrow at 2:30 a.m. So having a 7 o'clock meeting makes it very difficult to be able to do manual labor so early in the morning. So I would really appreciate it if it would be possible to move the meetings up at least even just an hour to make it like around 6 o'clock. It would make it much easier for me to be able to conduct my my role as chair, but then also going forward with the understanding that this is a permanent part-time role, this will also have to be part of our consideration for booking the fall and the winter semester, as my schedule will remain relatively fixed going forward. So Director Spitzeri, did you have a question?
Yeah, would this be on the weekends as well? Or I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I don't work on weekends, but I'd be more than happy to host a board meeting during weekend if there's the appetite from the board. But it's typically a pretty unpopular opinion, pretty unpopular suggestion. But if the board is amenable to moving meetings to a weekend, I'd be very open to that.
I'm just looking forward to the fall because I'll be also working relatively busy during the day, to the point where I will unlikely to be available before 7 o'clock at any point during the week. And so I'm just thinking in terms of overall like commensability to other people having busy schedules during the day and during the week, if maybe like a Sunday night meeting might be, I know obviously some of the full-time people might not be kind of inclined towards that, but if that might be a viable solution, that might be something that we could discuss.
Director Corey?
Kind of just for myself, and I think this might be for Director Ellis as well, but weekends aren't the best. I typically will be working both weekend days. But if kind of, because kind of the whole point here is to put it earlier in the day. So kind of 6 is again the earliest that would work for me.
Okay. I therefore would like to ask the board if I can get a motion on the table to move the timing of our August meeting from 7 to amend our August meeting time from 7 to 6 p.m. Can I get a motion on the table for that? And then we can go into the discussion afterwards.
Can I just be reminded what date in August the meeting is?
August 17th.
15th.
15.
Oh, 15th. My apologies. 15th. Director Hamilton?
You got a motion to move it earlier.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Director Sloan, do you second the motion?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. We'll now move into Director Sloan. You might have. Yeah, no worries. We'll now move into discussion. Does anybody have, is everybody okay with moving our meeting from 7 till 6? Is that okay with everyone? Does anybody have any objections to that? On the line, Director Phillips, do you have any objections to moving our meeting from 7 till 6?
No objections.
Perfect. We will now move into voting. All those against? All those in opposition? Any abstentions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes 0 to 9, or is it 9?
I believe it's 10 now.
Oh, sorry, 10. The motion passes 0 to 10. My last update would be in regards to the hiring committee. The board secretary hiring committee, all directors have now completed the mandatory training, and we will hopefully start the process to review and interview candidates before our next board meeting for sure. So that concludes my comments, and we can move on to the comments from the acting president and acting CEO, Sarah Brophy. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Oh, there you go. Hi guys, I'm Sarah. I'm the VP of Financial Volunteer Operations that I've been acting president on behalf of Megan while she's in Hawaii for the past week. And her updates are in the agenda.
Sorry, we're having a really hard time hearing you, Sarah.
Okay. Is that better if I'm a little bit louder?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Oh, good. I'll just start yelling. Okay. Wait, did you hear me introduce myself?
Yes, but it was very quiet.
Okay. I'm Sarah. I'm the Vice President of Financial and Volunteer Operations. I've been the acting president for the past week on behalf of Megan while she's in Hawaii. Her updates and all of our VP team's updates are in your agenda. If you have any questions, please let me know and I can either answer them myself or I can bring them back to the team. But happy to be here in today's board meeting. It's my first board meeting experience.
Awesome. How are you liking it?
So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I don't like
awesome.
looking at myself up here, but I love seeing everyone.
Perfect. Director Corey, do you have any questions for the acting president and CEO?
I have two. And one might be kind of, Ian might know a little bit more on this, but I was wondering if you had, I saw some updates about MOUs in the board report. Is there anything on Greek Life MOU? Has that been started again, or how's that looking?
As far as I know, it's still in limbo. So I believe it was back with Greek Life Council. I don't believe we've had anything back from Greek Life Council about it since Megan took over, but I will check with Megan and we can update if needed.
Thanks. And Sarah, I think this was in your wheelhouse, but the volunteer discount things, does that apply? Would that apply to the board as volunteers, or would that just be kind of general volunteers?
That is a lovely question. off the top of my head, because it's facilitated through my portfolio specifically, and I'm responsible for students union committee volunteers. Right now, it is for like committees specifically, but open for a further conversation if you want to include you guys as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions for the acting? Oh, Director Sloan, go ahead.
Apologies, it was actually in reference to the first question regarding the Greek Life Council's response. So I'm actually the vice president of the Greek Life Council this upcoming year. We've just taken over ownership from the previous council and we have not started operations this summer. The scheduling date is coming in the near future. I imagine that that's on one of the top of the bucket list, or top of the list for completion when we begin operations later this summer.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We will now move on to the comments from the Executive Director and COO.
Yes, Phil is unfortunately sick today, so he sends his regrets. The operations group team updates are in the agenda package as well. So if there's any questions in there, we can take them back to that team as well.
Okay, Director Corey, go ahead.
Also, funnily enough, 2 questions for, I guess, you again, Ian. The first one was kind of in reference to what they said at the special constable meeting. And in reference to the email that we got from the VP Finance and Admin, what input, if any, does SU have into the working group on campus security?
Because it's brand new, I'm not sure. We did have representation on the special constable review process, which took place. Kind of the bulk of it was done during Peggy Jamiloff's year. Shane took over the end of that role, so we participated in that process. But I'll need to circle back with Phil to get a specific answer on the working group itself.
Okay, and this I think will also kind of garner the same response, but is there any significant update on kind of where we're at with halal foods and if we can provide them, how we can provide them?
So I'll put that on Phil's list and maybe we can bring the board a proper update and a briefing note for the August meeting, because I know there have been some developments, but I'll wait and let kind of either that team or Phil on their behalf speak to that with full detail.
Awesome,
thank you. I think it's going to be really important, if I could just add to Director Corey's comments. I think it's going to be really important that we fill our mandate to bring back halal food options to Wilfs before the fall semester starts again. I believe that any further delay afterwards would be an issue that would need to be addressed at that time if it does not get addressed ahead of time. So I think that's it from me. We will now move on to the ad hoc committee discussion. I will now leave it to Director Corey to present his briefing note on this matter.
Yeah, sure. I'll be quick about this. I know we're kind of trying to be short with this meeting, and I think the report kind of stands for itself. So this isn't kind of a spur of the moment thing. This has been something I've been trying to push for the last year. But essentially what kind of prompted this is, as the board, we don't have kind of a master document or really kind of any great understanding of what the security apparatus is at Laurier and how the student union operates within it. And so I'd like to do some looking into that and come up with ideally kind of a list of recommendation, policy and operational recommendations that we can give to the board and Spenny later on in the year, just kind of looking at what does the students union do in terms of safety and security on campus and in the community as a whole? How can that be improved, if at all? And kind of, well, also compiling a document for future boards to not have to kind of do this process and have an understanding of how safety and security works on campus, how the students union contributes to that. So kind of where my thoughts are with that is a couple of hearings with representative groups. So we've already talked with special constables a bit here today, kind of having a more in-depth conversation with them, kind of as a committee, as well, health and wellness, as they mentioned in the meeting today. Kind of mental health is a big thing, so bringing in health and wellness, seeing what their perspectives are on the issue. Residents, again, I think it's a little self-explanatory. Dean of Students tends to see a lot of, I won't say issues on campus, but kind of that ilk. And then also bringing in other partners like EDI and other organizations like that. So just to kind of wrap things up, my working recommendation is the creation of an ad hoc committee. It seems to me like this is kind of the best use of resources to this goal. That way it's kind of not one person's understandings of the topic. And it's you get that breadth of knowledge, understanding and questioning. Like there are questions at the meeting today that I wouldn't have thought of, and I'm sure vice versa. And so kind of my thoughts is a committee of 4 directors plus the chair, also extending invites for the president and CEO or their designate, and the director of policy research and advocacy or his designate, and other individuals that the board may think are necessary to have a full understanding of the topic. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, I'll open it up for discussions. Does anybody have a question regarding the suggestion made by Director Corey to create an ad hoc committee? Any questions or comments? Okay, as I see none, I guess, can I have a motion on the table to adopt the briefing note as presented and to create a board ad hoc committee in regards to student safety? Director Ellis, can I get a seconder on the motion? Vice Chair Rubinoff. Okay, cool. We'll now move into discussion. Are there any questions in regards to creating this ad hoc committee?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Director Hamilton.
I'm just wondering, could you talk a little bit about like how many times they would meet? Maybe like was this like a monthly thing, or is it just like whenever there's like some kind of situation on campus?
Yeah, sure. I was thinking something a little bit more structured. Kind of the idea of kind of every major doing it once a major incident seems kind of a poor idea to me. But kind of ideally, I'd like to do a couple planning sessions, as well as sorry. Yeah, a couple planning sessions and then, as I mentioned, also kind of some hearings. So it wouldn't be a whole lot of work kind of for what I have planned, but maybe a couple hours a month. And then I don't kind of, why I'm suggesting an ad hoc committee is because I don't really have like an end date in mind. And so kind of the ad hoc committee lends itself to it's finished once the work is done.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions regarding the motion by Director Corey? Okay, perfect. As I see none, we can now move into voting on the motion. Any opposition to the creation of the ad hoc committee as described? Any abstentions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Director Spazieri? Oh, okay. The motion passes 0 to 10. We will now move on to committee elections. Can I get any nominations for directors to be on the committee as described? I need 4 nominations, please.
I would like to nominate Vice Chair Rubinoff.
Vice Chair Rubinoff, do you stand?
I will stand.
Okay.
And Director Corey as well.
Director Corey, do you stand?
Yes.
Okay, Director Corey. Do I have another hand in the Brantford? Okay.
Sorry, she said yes.
Wait, like Director Ellis, are you standing for election?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 3. I need 1 more nomination to the committee.
I would like
Do
to
I,
nominate Director Hamilton.
Director Hamilton, do you stand?
Yes.
Perfect. Are there any further nominations to the Campus Safety Ad Hoc Committee? Okay, as I see none, we can now move into voting. Any in opposition of the election of Director Hamilton, Vice Chair Rubinoff, Director Corey, and Director Alice and myself to the Campus Safety Ad Hoc Committee? Any abstentions on this matter? Abstentions on the matter? Directors elected should abstain from voting on this matter. Sure. Director Sloan, are you abstaining? Oh, no. Okay, perfect. And all those in favor of the election, the 4 directors? Okay.
Aye.
The motion passes 0 to 5 to 5. Thank you so much. I've already presented my update on the board secretary hiring process. We can now move into announcements. Do any directors have any announcements to share with the board?
Mohammed, acting President Brophy, can add a further update to the board hiring.
Oh,
process.
please go ahead.
Not necessarily an update, but before those of you on the panel for those interviews leave, can we just have a quick little chat?
Absolutely. We can do that after the board meeting.
Thank you.
Perfect. Do any directors have any announcements to make to the board?
If I can make just a really quick one. If you do
Go ahead.
not have access to your board email, please make sure you get that figured out before August. I've said this a lot of times. I don't want to keep saying it because I feel pretty weird about it, but make sure everybody gets access to that.
Please, if you do not have access to your WLU.ca and your MS Teams and your Outlook, please reach out to me and Orlin so that we can get it fixed for you.
Actually, just send me an email directly is the fastest way to do it, please.
Or actually email Director Mueller right away. Action item summary. Oh, Director Russo, go ahead.
Sorry, I just have a question. So he said our, excuse me, our board emails, we don't actually have an actual director board email. It's just our regular emails, like our student emails, right?
No, there's a WLU.ca account that you should have access to as a director of the board.
Like a different email address?
Yes.
Yeah, the login would have been sent to your @MyLaurier email.
Okay,
But if you can't find that,
okay,
just.
I'll look for that.
Yeah, if you can't find it, let me know and we can reset it and send you new login information.
Perfect, thank you.
Perfect.
I just put his email in the Zoom chat.
All right, so we're going to do an action item summary. Going before the next meeting, the board secretary, we should hopefully finally have a hiring for the board secretary. We will, or I will try to lead a conversation between the operations leadership to explore options to develop a better, I guess, really more a better working relationship with special constables, considering the conversation that we've had tonight. We will hopefully strike another ownership linkage committee meeting. We'll have a couple of the DICs that are outstanding be sent to that are going to be in the next board package. Am I missing anything else, Vice Chair?
I did just remember direct inspection committees have not been struck, and that is something that needs to be done.
Yep.
You mentioned ownership linkage. That's good too. Do you mind if I ask as well about the board vacancy applications? Those have been open. Do we know how many responses or anything has been submitted? Is there a way to quantify that?
So I'm not open to sharing the results of the applications openly, but I do recommend that any interested participants still apply, as there will be a board election to come, hopefully in the first meeting of September. So there's 2 spots, so it'll be an interesting fit. All right, I think that is all. We can now move into adjournment. Can I get a motion that the board adjourn the July 17th, 2023 meeting? Vice Chair Rubinoff, okay, Director Ellis on the second. Any discussion on the matter? Perfect. As I see none, we can now move into voting. Any objections? Any abstentions? All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes 0 to 10. I'd like to sign off by saying thank you for all directors for showing up. A full 10 is great. I would like to encourage directors to be more proactive in their communications, especially with Orlin, our governance coordinator, and also encourage directors to be here on time, especially when we have guests presenting to the board. But sincerely, I appreciate your time and effort and your preparation for our board meeting today, and I look forward to meeting you on August 15th at 6 p.m. Have a good night. And anybody that's here on the hiring committee, please stay.